Hi, so we're live again. I'm Amy, Creative Director for My Heart Creative, and I also have April in the studio, so we may have a doorbell, who knows, but we're gonna get started. And what I'm going to talk to you about is our top five design mistakes to avoid. So we're recording this live, and if you're watching and you have a question or a comment, feel free to put it in the feed, and April or myself will try to catch that, and I'm happy to answer questions or I love comments while we're live, so that'd be great. So we're going to get started. Let me know if you can hear me. That would be great. And if you don't see anything right. So we're going to get right into it. All right, number one. So we're getting right into this, and I will tell you our number one item, let's see. Let's see, can you see that? Can you guys see that okay? Let me know. No visual hierarchy. So this one is actually going to be a beefy tip, but the next tip is super easy, super simple. Everybody should do it really fast. So bear with me as we hang in no visual hierarchy. That is definitely a design mistake to avoid. And we're going to kind of talk through why. So this is really what a lot of design is about, is really just thinking about priorities and what's the most important message to get out. And we're going to talk about an example of an ad here. So let's pretend like this is a design we're going to do. Obviously, you want to think about more than just the visual hierarchy when you're doing any sort of design. You know, who is the audience? What's the style of the client? Their brand feel? What's the impression you want to give? And there's a variety of things to keep in mind. But these are some of the things that we're just going to think about once we've already done some of our pre-planning, and now we know what needs to go into this design. So let's just make a little list, which is a great place to start. So we're going to say, in this design, we want a title, we want a date, a photo, logo, and web address. So this kind of a little list is a great way for you to think about the priorities of what goes into this design. So I've got my list here, and we're going to think, okay, what's the most important thing? If it's an internal document, it might just be getting the date out. If it's something that's going to a wider audience, that title might be what really speaks to them, because it will, perk their interest. So, but what's really surprising, I think, sometimes people overlook this, is the very most important thing is to first make them stop. So I'm actually going to say that our photo is going to be the most important thing when we're developing our visual hierarchy that we want. So I'm going to do like a little sketch mock-up of two different designs, and you'll kind of see how visual hierarchy and layout plays a really big role in design. So this is just going to be representative of our title, and I'm going to try to keep everything just the same size so that you can see how there's just nothing is placed in prominence. You don't really know where to look first. So that is what happens when there's no visual hierarchy. So title. So this is our title, our date. I'll give the photo a little bit more to make it fair. Photo, logo, web address. And now I'm going to do another little sketch that just shows you if we emphasize one or two things, it's going to really have a better message. So think about if everyone is in a room screaming, no one's going to be heard. So we want only just a couple things to scream out at us. So We're going to start with our picture because we think that's the most important. That maybe not the most important piece of this message, but definitely the thing that's going to maybe make them stop. Maybe this is a speaker that's, you know, really everyone wants to hear, or they know, or they have a good connection. So we're going to make that speaker picture big. There's our person. You can see it's already way more impact on this side. And then we'll do the title. And I'm making the title bigger. And then we'll just end with, we need the date, the logo, and web address. So date, logo, web address. Maybe the date gets to be a little bit bigger. But now you can see that with a visual hierarchy and a plan and a layout, this design is instantly better. So that was number one. I know it's a little more detailed, but if you can think about the most important items first, your designs will instantly be better. Okay, number two. Number two. No clear space. Okay, so this is actually just a thing that I think designers just naturally do over time, but we had to learn this too, and that is just the placement of your design elements. So I'm going to show you how this plays out too and what this really means. But clear space is really, think about it like breathing room. So let's pretend like we're about to do an Instagram post and we need to get, you know, an image out, but we want to put our logo on there, or maybe some sort of small tagline. So I'm going to show you. This is what I see a lot. People put their logo all the way to the edge. No clear space. So no breathing room for that logo at all, and it actually ends up looking like a mistake. Like there was some sort of bad crop at the edge, or it also can make a visual tension point so that you, and not always in a good way. And I will say at this point, let me show you the positive when there's clear space, and then I do want to tell you about my thoughts on clear space when it comes to rules. So, okay, here we go. Now I'm taking the logo and I'm just moving it out, giving it a little breathing room. So now it has clear space, and you can see this looks much more polished, much more planned, and the logo gets its own, you know, time in the spotlight. So even though it's small, still have a visual hierarchy, but that clear space is a huge thing. So totally design mistake I see all the time and very easy to avoid. I do want to take a pause here though and say that although we are going over, you know, design mistakes to avoid and talking a lot about design kind of rules, just keep in mind that these things can be broken. These guidelines and tips can be used selectively, generally good. But for example, on clear space, you know, clear space is good to think about for all the items, but really specifically for logos too. But notice in my original hierarchy sketch, I had that text going all the way to this speaker's photo. Now, I probably wouldn't make it go right over the face. Maybe I would tuck a letter behind some hair, or maybe behind the shoulder. But you can see I broke the rule right there in my sketch. So I just don't want you to get too hung up on these things, but just use them as you're creating. So sometimes breaking the rule here and there actually can create impact, which is what would happen. And engagement, like it feels like the text is working with the photo and things are more integrated. So it can really work, but notice I did use clear space on all of my other elements though. So, okay, that was number 2. Number 3. Inconsistency. So this is a big design mistake, and one that is really easy to make because it takes a lot of planning and commitment to stay with a consistent design look and feel. So I'm going to give you some like bullet points of items that I really want to see you be consistent with. So those are going to be color, style, and fonts. So these are really graphic design heavy elements that we're talking about here. But let's think about if we were inconsistent with color versus consistent. So think about My Heart Creative for a second. You've got My Heart Creative in your mind. What color do you think of? I'm pretty sure you're thinking red right now, right? Yes, everybody say yes in the comments. So that is because we are consistent with the colors that we use. We want to connect and grow, we want people to think about us and that they've known us for over time and that they feel, that they feel, sorry, any questions, let me know. But that they feel engaged with us, that they remember us, that they, are tied to us. And by using one design element over and over and over, it really makes you feel like you know who we are. And that's because we're keeping a consistent element. So color can also be, just like we talked about earlier, we can break the rule of color too. If you look through, say, our Instagram feed right now. Sorry, any questions? Let me know. Hold on just a second, we're having a little technical difficulty. That's okay. If we, what was I thinking about? Oh yes, if you go through our Instagram feed and you'll see a lot of red, but you'll also, if you look back a little bit, when we were talking about Ice Cream Social, we totally broke the rules. So you'll see a ton of color in there, not just red. And if you break the rules really selectively and over time you are consistent, it'll make the times that you break away from your norm really memorable. So think about those colors. We use pink, purple, yellow, all sorts of colors, but it still felt like our brand because it was done in a with multiple elements, creating a consistent vibe through just that specific campaign. And so that's a way to have fun with color, but still a way to be consistent. Now, so that's color. Style. When you think about style, this one is a kind of a soft rule in my mind because I think the style of a brand, and all of these things can evolve and be refreshed over time. But when you think about the style of a brand, it's more like, is this a casual, really fun-loving, jokester type company? You just love them because because they just let loose, or is this a really upscale, refined, like very peaceful, all the beautiful elements type shop? You think about your style, who are you and who is your company, and you want to stay somewhat consistent with that. So that helps people, again, know who you are and care about you and feel like they're a part of your company, even just by the style that you bring to the world or that you put out. So last on this consistent element is fonts. So, as a creative person, all of this is kind of a little bit hard to talk about because I like to break the rules a lot and have fun and play. But if I keep consistent in so many ways, the design is naturally better, which will tie into my next point. But let's talk about fonts. So with fonts, one of my biggest tips for you is to pick a font family. So if you have no idea what you're doing with fonts, but you're looking to get better with your choices, just pick one font family. And what that means is a font that might have bold, italic, it might have condensed version, and even a heavy black version. So if you play with, capitalization, all lowercase, a thin versus a heavy, that's a way to do a lot of variety, get a lot of visual hierarchy out of one single font. Super safe way to go. So, but then another thing to try with fonts is also to pick, a sans serif. That's going to be something that doesn't have the little feet. and pair it with the serif. And that's going to be something with the little feet. So, don't laugh. You'll actually notice that My Heart Creative does that. But it's not just about serif versus sans serif. It's also about just one more toned down font mixed with more of like a display font, something that might be really robotic and chunky or handwritten or script or serif. So that's kind of a guideline for a tip, but the ultimate tip here is just to be consistent with your fonts. So you don't want to be all over the place using every font, because it does represent your brand. And so if people come to know your look and feel and they know who you are, and then on a campaign you jump around a little, that can work if it's done well. But if you're, every time they see your ad, they're seeing a different font, they may not know it's you as quickly as someone who may be more consistent with their choices of fonts. So that's our number 3. All right. Let's hope I spell this right. Just an S. Okay, unnecessary graphics. This one is a killer, and it's one that that I feel like is, again, a really quick thing to start implementing, is not having unnecessary graphics in your design. So in your do-it-yourself things, think about it like this. There's a Southern tip that goes like this. So if you are getting ready, you're getting dressed, and you're about to walk out the door, take one thing off. So the thinking is that way you don't overdo it. And that rule could be applied to design as well. But I would also just keep in mind, just think about it as simple is better. You don't want to add graphic elements just for decoration. You want everything that goes into the layout to serve a purpose and to improve the experience. So, if you need to have a swirl or an angle line to emphasize something because it's important, maybe this is where we register for the event. Maybe we have, that's a possibility. But do we need that line? We really didn't need it, so I could take it off. So you want to be really selective with the graphics that you put. Simple's always better. And just avoid unnecessary graphics. Okay, so this is a great segue into my last kind of no mistake, and that is not hiring a pro. Now bear with me here. I will say, I came up with a little saying that I like, and it's when you can't hire a professional, keep it minimal. So if you can't hire a professional because you're just getting started, or maybe it's an internal flyer that has to go out, or say a proposal that's last minute or something, just keep it minimal. You're going to not have unnecessary graphics. You're probably not going to get inconsistent because you're going to use your go-to font. And we're going to stay super minimal, keeping the clear space and just keeping it to your priorities on that particular design. So, but I will still say that not hiring a professional is a design mistake because, we're trained, designers are trained to know all of this instinctively and more, and to make you look really good. So here's the deal. If you need to do things yourself, because it's really hard to have a professional doing every single piece that makes up your entire visual identity, from print to digital to video, photography, I understand. And I would say, if you can focus on getting a pro for at least 2 or 3 items, that's a great place to start. So don't freak out if you didn't hire a pro from the start, from the very beginning of your business. Let's say you just, had a friend make your logo, or didn't think about color and you just started using a color you like. You can always evolve and refresh. So that's when you can come visit a pro, talk about how things are looking, and get better. But if you can, it's always best to have a professional logo design because you want to put that logo on everything. So if you can get a really professional logo done, one that you love, that communicates who you are, one that's really flexible and simple, one that's going to be packaged up with all the files that you can need to look really great, and one that has a color palette right there for you, all the color codes, you're going to be set up to do some of your do-it-yourself items much better. And with that logo, then I would say that's like the face of your business, the groundwork. From there, my second thing that would be to get a website. So most people actually will see your website before they ever even see you, so it's very important. But a great website is something that isn't the easiest thing to do it yourself, but it's something that, you know, you can get the right action going on your website, the right impression, tell your story, make yourself known, and let people see exactly why you're great. All of those two items, logo and website, are super key to everything else looking great, because all of your print items, all of your ads are going to point back to that website. So then from there, if you can get those two items right, from there, anything extra that you do professionally is going to help. So that is my 5 tips. My 5 design mistakes to avoid. I really hope that you implement quickly this one and this one, but if you have any questions about any of the design mistakes, I'm happy to answer them, and also happy to work with you. So leave me a message if you want to get in touch, and we can talk about your business and the look that you have, and we can share ideas. So thank you so much for joining me on this video, and I will see you guys next time.